My Safety Training Online presents Lockout, Tagout, and Machine Guarding. Welcome. What you will learn. We will give you an introduction to Lockout, Tagout, the importance of Lockout, Tagout, definitions of servicing and maintenance, when to use Lockout and when to use Tagout, the proper steps before beginning LOTO, and how to evaluate your LOTO program. What you will learn. We'll discuss what a proper shutdown of a device is, what energy control consists of. We'll give definitions on lockout and tagout, how to test and position equipment and machines, how to deal with outside personnel and equipment, and what periodic inspections consist of. Introduction to lockout, tagout, including step 1, preparing for a lockdown, step 2, the shutdown itself, step 3, isolation, energy isolation, step 4, lockout, tagout application, and what lockout devices are, what tagout devices are, steps to controlling the stored energy, and verifying a lockout, tagout. And the last step we'll talk about is group lockout, tagout. We'll discuss lockout, tagout training, the documentation for lockout, tagout, and finally we'll give a summary and final quiz. The objectives of this program include getting a greater awareness of all aspects of OSHA's .147, the control of hazardous energy. We'll discuss the importance of hazardous energy control plan, and we'll discuss energy control procedures, training, and periodic inspection criteria. Part 1, Introduction to Lockout, Tagout. What is servicing or maintenance? Well, it's adjusting, inspecting, modifying, constructing, or retooling. It's also lubricating, installing, setting up, removing jams, and cleaning. In general, the standard requires that all energy sources for equipment be turned off, isolated or disconnected, and physically locked out. Many serious injuries and fatalities have occurred when someone thought a machine was safely turned off or assumed that all energy sources were correctly disconnected. Bleeding, relieving, or blocking other stored or residual energy must be done to achieve a zero energy state. The OSHA Energy Control Program, called for .147, says the employer shall establish a program consisting of energy control procedures, employee training, and periodic inspections to ensure that before any employee performs any servicing or maintenance on a machine or equipment where unexpected energizing, startup, or release of stored energy could occur and cause injury, the machine or equipment shall be isolated from the energy source and rendered inoperable. Section 2, Steps in Preparing a Successful Program. The first steps to be prepared in developing a successful program include listing all the employee equipment and machines that need servicing or maintenance. Identify those machines which could unexpectedly start up or release stored energy while being serviced or maintained. Determine the steps in the maintenance or servicing task. Review each step for potential of hazard from energy sources. Post user-friendly procedures on each piece of equipment and identify energy sources, hazards, and energy isolating devices. Step 1, Preparing for a lockout. Before shutting down, the authorized employee must know the following: the types and magnitude of energy, the hazards posed by that energy, the methods to effectively controlling the energy. Step 2, Shutdown. Machinery and equipment must be turned off or shut down using the procedures you established for the machine or equipment. An orderly shutdown must be utilized to avoid any additional or increased hazards due to equipment stoppage. If more than one authorized employee is involved in the shutdown, a team leader should make sure that everyone has accomplished their tasks and are aware that the shutdown will occur. Step 3. Energy isolation. All energy isolating devices must be located and operated to completely de-energize and isolate the equipment. The authorized employees will verify the operation of each energy isolating device. If more than one authorized employee is involved, a team leader should make sure that everyone has accomplished their task. Step 4. Lockout or tagout application. Lockout is the placement of a lockout device on an energy isolating device in accordance with established procedures, ensuring that energy isolating device and the equipment being controlled cannot be operated until the lockout device is removed. Tagout is the placement of a tagout device on an energy isolating device in accordance with established procedures to indicate that the energy isolating device and equipment being controlled may not be operated until the tagout device is removed. A lockout device is a device that uses a positive means such as a lock to hold the energy isolating device in a safe position to prevent the energizing of the machine or piece of equipment. Only authorized employees can affix lockout devices, and lockout devices must be able to hold the energy isolation devices in a safe or off position. A tagout device is a prominent warning device such as a tag and a means of attachment, which can be securely fastened to an energy isolating device in accordance with established procedures to indicate that the energy isolating device and equipment being controlled may not be operated until the tagout device is removed. See the example on the right. Remember, when it comes to tagout devices, only authorized employees can affix tagout devices. The devices must be affixed in such a manner that they will clearly indicate that moving the energy isolating devices from safe or off position is strictly prohibited. They must warn against hazardous conditions if the machine or equipment is energized, and must include a message that states "do not start," "do not close," "do not energize," or "do not operate." If a tag cannot be affixed directly to the energy isolating device, it must be located as close as safely possible to the device, so the tag is obvious to anyone attempting to operate the device. An energy isolating device is capable of being locked out if it has a hasp or other means to attach a lock. It has a built-in locking mechanism. It does not have to be dismantled or rebuilt to achieve lockout. So when can a company use a tagout system instead of a lockout system? Well, when an energy isolating device is not capable of being locked out, or when a company can demonstrate or prove that using a tagout system will provide full employee protection. Tagout devices can be used when the company can demonstrate full compliance with all tagout provisions and implement additional safety measures such as removing an isolating circuit element, blocking of a controlling switch, opening an extra disconnect, removing a valve handle, or blocking a ram, etc. Using tagout devices properly. Lockout and tagout devices must be capable of withstanding the environment to which they are exposed for the maximum period of time the exposure is expected. Tagout devices must be constructed and printed so that the exposure to weather conditions or wet or damp locations will not cause the tag to deteriorate or the message on the tag to become illegible. Tags must not deteriorate when used in a corrosive environment such as acid or alkali chemicals are handled and stored. Attachment means must be non-reusable, attachable by hand, self-locking, and non-releasable, with a minimum unlocking strength of 50 pounds, designed equivalent to one piece, one environment-tolerant nylon cable tie. Here we can see an example of lockout devices on the right. Step 5. Controlling stored energy. Immediately after applying a lockout or tagout device, the authorized employee must ensure all potentially hazardous stored or residual energy is relieved, disconnected, or restrained. If there is a possibility of stored energy reaccumulating to a hazardous level, what are some examples of stored or residual energy? Take a moment out to think of some. Step 6. Verifying the lockout-tagout. Before starting work on a machine or piece of equipment that has been locked or tagged out, the authorized employee must verify that the machine or piece of equipment has been isolated, de-energized, and can verify a zero energy state. Whenever a lockout or tagout device must be temporarily removed to test or position the machine or equipment, the following sequence must be conducted. Clear the machine or equipment of tools and materials. Remove employees from the machine or equipment area. Remove the lockout or tagout device. Energize and proceed with testing or positioning. De-energize all systems and reapply energy control measures. Section 3. Lockout and tagout by non-employees. Outside servicing personnel contracted to perform maintenance or other services requiring lockout or tagout procedures will be covered in this section. Outside contractors must not begin to work until the host employer and contractor inform each other of respective hazardous energy control procedures. The host employer must ensure that the company employees understand and comply with the contractor's lockout or tagout procedures. Specific procedures must be utilized during shift or personnel changes to ensure the control of lockout or tagout protection, including the provision for the orderly transfer of lockout or tagout devices between ongoing workers and offgoing workers. Continuity of procedures is the intent of these shift change procedures. Group lockout or tagout. When servicing and/or maintenance is performed by a group, they must utilize a procedure which affords the employees a level of protection equivalent to that provided by personal lockout or tagout devices. Group lockout or tagout devices must be used in accordance with specific procedures and must include, at minimum, the following. Section 4. Lockout tagout training. General requirements of training call for training to ensure that the purpose and function of your energy control plan are understood and that employees gain a needed knowledge and skills to safely apply them and remove hazardous energy controls. Minimum training must include the authorized employees able to recognize hazardous energy sources, types and magnitudes of energy in the workplace, methods and means necessary to isolate and control the energy exposure. Remember that tags are warning devices only and do not provide a physical restraint that lockout devices provide. Tags must not be removed without authorized employees' approval and should never be bypassed, ignored, or otherwise defeated. Tags must be legible and understandable by all employees. Tags must be able to withstand environmental conditions in the workplace, and they may also give employees a false sense of security. They must be securely attached to prevent inadvertent or accidental detachment. Remember, no training has been conducted unless you have documented it. A training certificate must contain each employee's name and date of training. When should employees be retrained? Whenever there is a change in their job assignment, whenever there is a change in the machinery, equipment, or process that presents a new hazard, whenever there is a change in your energy control procedures. An inspection of each energy control procedures must be conducted at least annually. These inspections must at least include a demonstration of these procedures or steps and may be implemented through random audits and/or planned visual observations. Inspections must be performed by an authorized employee other than the one using the energy control procedures being inspected. The purpose of this inspection is to correct deviations or inadequacies related to your procedures and/or training, but it should also point out the good. Where the lockout is used, the inspector and authorized employee involved in the procedure being inspected must review applicable controls and responsibilities. Where a tagout is used, the inspector and each authorized and affected employee involved in the procedure being inspected must review applicable controls and responsibilities and the limitations of the tagout system. The employer must certify that the periodic inspections are being performed. This certification must identify the equipment or machine being serviced, the date of the inspection, the employees included in the inspection, and the authorized employee performing the inspection. Lockout/tagout summary. Specific written procedures are required for shutdown, isolating or blocking, for applying individual locks or tags, for relieving stored or residual energy, and for verifying zero energy state, as well as for removing and transferring locks. Training must be documented, including the authorized employee, affected employee, other employees, and certification. Periodic inspections are conducted by authorized employees, evaluated each authorized employees during the procedure, and are the steps in the energy control procedures being followed, and do employees involved know their responsibilities? If the procedure is adequate, what changes are needed, if any, are needed? Here we can see an example of lockout/tagout documentation for hazardous energy training certification. What are three key elements of energy control program? Control, training, and inspection, affected employee, machinery, and training, source of energy, training, and control, or number 4, none of the above. Steps to developing a successful program include all the following except: list all the company equipment or machines that are needed servicing or maintenance, copies of warranty on work done on the equipment, identifying those machines which could unexpectedly start up or release stored energy while being serviced or maintained. Before shutting down, the authorized employee must know all the following except: the types and magnitude of energy, the employee experience and training, hazards posed by that energy, methods to effectively control the energy. An energy isolating device capable of being locked out if it has a hasp or other means to attach a lock, it has a built-in locking mechanism, is it capable of handling a proper UL listed tag, or does it have to be dismantled or rebuilt to achieve lockout? Which one or several of these answers is correct? When can a tagout system be used? A, when the foreman decides he wants it. B, when the lockout system is not feasible, when a company can only afford a tagout, or when PANSI, P-A-N-S-I, decides. How are tags affixed using tagout? A, tags must be affixed on an energy isolating device at the same location the lock would have been attached. B, tags should be placed over the lock. Or C, tags can be placed anywhere on the device. True or false, a specific statement of intended use of your procedures is a necessary step for a lockout-tagout program. The last question, true or false? The lockout-tagout involves the worker needs to know the types and magnitude of the energy which they are exposed.